Third verse, we all have family, friends, co-workers, loved ones, neighbors that are lost. And we need to have those people on our mind, to be thinking about those people as someone was thinking about us at one point in time. Beginning in the third verse, it said, "And he spake this parable unto them, saying, What man of you, having 100 sheep, if you lose one of them, doth not leave the 99 in the wilderness, and go after that which is lost until he find it? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he cometh home, he calleth together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, more than over 99 just persons who need no repentance." More joy in heaven over that one person than 99 just people. Let's keep those people on our heart that are lost. This is a time when Satan has a power to obviously dull the ears and to dull the eyes, and people can't see the need for Christ in their lives. But we all have lost loved ones, and we need to remember that. This time, Brother Bill with a message.
Thank you, Brother Tom. I'd like to welcome everyone here this morning to Lake Street Church of Christ worship service. If you will, the first place I'll be reading from is Mark chapter 6. You can turn there in your Bible, starting with verse 45, so you can follow along. Before I do, though, I want to share something that happened to me a couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks maybe. Melanie's been in the hospital a lot. I've been going down every day to visit her. And it's finally taking its toll on me. Spiritually, physically, I was getting down. As I was going down the road, I decided to turn on the radio, and I always listen to K-Love. That's my favorite station. They have inspirational gospel contemporary music. And as I was listening to that, message come on there and said, "My God is greater than any problem you got." And I got thinking about that, and I said, well, that's true. Why don't I go to him in prayer? So I started praying. When I finished the prayer, I turned the radio off. Before I started praying, I didn't want it to interrupt my prayer. When I got done, I went to turn the radio back on. When I looked up in the sky, there in this cloud in front of me was a big handprint sitting there. Just like God took his hand and pushed it through that cloud. Let me know, hey, I got this for you. Just put your hand in my hand and trust me. So that's what I did. I continue to trust him, and it was just awesome to have that happen. I thought I would share that with you so that maybe you can enjoy that as well. Maybe it'll happen to you someday if you need it. That God will give you that kind of sign to let you know he's still there. He's still alive. This morning I'd like to start reading from chapter 6, Mark, verse 45. It said, "And straightway he constrained his disciples to get into the ship and to go to the other side before unto Bethsaida, while he sent away the people." And he just got through feeding the 5,000. And so he told his disciples to get in the ship. He said he constrained them. He forced them, compelled them to get in this ship. They didn't really want to get in the ship and go. But he said, "You go on, and I'll take care of the crowds." And when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when evening was come, and the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he was alone on the land, and he saw them toiling and rolling, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the 4th watch of the night, he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed them by. But when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit, and cried out. For they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them, and said unto them, "Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid." And when he went up into them, into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure and wonder. For they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their hearts was hardened. Here it is. They're out in this ship. Jesus told them to get out there, get in the ship and go. And then all of a sudden a storm comes up. They're fighting for their lives. And then on the 4th watch, around 3 to 6 a.m. somewhere, They look out here in the middle of this sea, the Sea of Galilee, and see Jesus walking on the water. Now, knowing that no man, no physical man can do that, they supposed it to be a spirit. But Jesus spoke out to them, do not be afraid. It is I. And he told them also to be of good cheer. And that's what we need to remember. I'm going to read now over to John, chapter 6, starting with the 15th verse. Read the same particular thing that happened in the scripture that is recorded by John. It said, when Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain, himself alone. And when the evening was now come, his disciples went down into the sea, and entered into a ship, and went over the sea toward Capernaum. And it was now dark, and Jesus was not come to them. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. And so when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they see Jesus walking onto the sea, and drawing nigh unto the ship. And they were afraid. But he saith unto them, it is I, be not afraid. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. This time, John adds a few extra things to know. It was 20 or 30 furlongs out in the middle of the sea. I done some studying on the Sea of Galilee, and I found it to be, according to what I found in the encyclopedia, it's 7 miles wide at one point, and up to 12 miles long at another point. The furlong would have been about 200 yards, which is 600 feet, which probably put them out about 3 or 4 miles out in the middle of the sea. So there was no chance of them just jumping out of the boat and running back to the land. The sea was in a great storm. And we also see is when he got in the ship, again the wind ceased, the storm ceased, and they was immediately at land. They'd already, by the time all this happened, as soon as he got in the boat, they'd done traveled all the way back to where they needed to be. I'd like to go to Matthew 14 and read again Matthew's account of this same situation after the feed the 5,000. Go to Matthew 14, starting with verse 22. And we see in 22 it says, and straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him unto the other side. And while he sent the multitude away, again he compelled them, forced them to go, get in this ship. They probably threw up a little bit of fight, not realizing what was going to happen, how he was going to get to the ship after they got out in the sea. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went into the mountain apart to pray. And when evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now tossed in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. Again he came up 3 to 6 a.m., out to the sea, walking on the water to them. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit, and they cried out in fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. Again he spoke out and told them who he was. Be of good cheer, it is I, don't be afraid, I'm here. I got things under control. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, and saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand, and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. They worshipped him because they realized he was the true Son of God by his miracle of walking on the water, his miracle of instantly being there when Peter needed him. He was afar off. They thought he was a spirit, so he couldn't have been very close to Peter when Peter started sinking. But as soon as Peter started sinking, he was there instantly and drew him out of the water and saved him. Again, the wind ceased. In this account, the wind ceased as soon as they got in the ship. And it would take some great faith to get me to walk out of a boat. I tell you that this morning. It's to trust in Jesus Christ. We need to do that in our lives. Now, we don't need to go down here to the Licking River or to the Cave Run Lake and try to walk on water. God's not called me to do that. God's probably not called none of you to do that either. But our situations in life is the same. So many times we look at Peter and say, what a failure. He doubted. His faith left him. Little faith. What about the other 11 that didn't even get out of the boat? Where was their faith at? Amen. Where was they at when it was time? Will that fear stop them? So many times we do the same thing in our lives. We look at situations and we sit around and thinking, well, I ain't going to do that. I'm safe. I'm comfortable. I want to stay where I'm at. I don't want change. I don't like change. I don't like to have to do stuff for the Lord and go do other stuff. God don't send me over here. I can't handle it. Well, no. But He's going. If He sends you over here and you go willingly for Him, He's going to equip you. He don't call people and just say, there you go do this. He calls you and then He equips you. Once you get there, here's the stuff you need to do. And here's the tools you need to do it with. So many times we let fear get in the way. He was fearful. Peter was scared. He looked around. The wind was blowing. No doubt there was coming big killer waves at him and everything. And he let the world and the gravity of the situation take over. Instead of relying on his faith and keeping his eye on Jesus Christ and staying strong. But the other 11, they stayed in the boat. Thought they were safe. They were to stay in the boat. At least it's something we know. It's where we're comfortable. So many times we do it as Christians. I've done it. I've been there. I've sat back there. First couple of years I was a Christian, I was comfortable. I didn't want to get up here and do this. This was not my design. This was not my plan. I was comfortable. I liked where I was at. Didn't require nothing of me. Free ticket to heaven, so to speak. I wasn't doing nothing for the Lord. I was living for Him. I didn't break none of these commandments. But at the same time, James 4:17 says, to him to know to do good and do it not, it is a sin. I was sinning because I wasn't doing the good things the Lord had for me to do. And we got to weigh that out when we look at the things that He calls us to do. Is it Him really calling? Just like we read this morning in Sunday school, test the spirits to know if the spirit that's talking to you is of God. We got to test them and try them. We got to understand that. Don't let fear cripple us. Fear is a good thing, but it can be a bad thing as well. We need to have fear of the Lord. For we can read in Proverbs that fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. That's in Proverbs 1:7. And in Psalms 1:11-10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do His commandments. His praises endure forever. That's a good kind of fear. We need to fear things. We need to fear the Lord. Have a respect for Him. Understand what He can do. But we don't need to be so fearful that it's crippling us, that we're standing back and not growing. Peter grew this day. He said, I'm going to walk on the water. Nobody else from that point on that I know of can say that, because they walked on water. Peter can. He trusted in the Lord. He grew a little bit. The other 11 sat there and didn't grow at all. They still worshiped Him, still believed He was the true Son of God. But so many times, they're just like, at this time, they're like the church of Laodicea. They took all their physical blessings, mistake them for spiritual ones. Not that spiritual and physical can't go hand in hand. It can. God can bless you both. They mistaked it and sat there and was comfortable with it. Didn't realize they were slowly slipping away. Their first love, they was losing it. We've got to be careful today. Don't let the fear cripple us. Let's get out there and do the things the Lord has called us to do, whatever it may be. Your ministry is not my ministry, and mine is not yours. We all have to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. So let's be careful that we don't fall into the same trap the church of Laodicea did. Let's be more like the Bereans, as we spoke about this morning, that they was more noble than the Thessalonians, that they studied the Word. What are we doing today? Are we studying enough? Are we eating of the spiritual food enough? Are we letting fear get into our lives? Well, I'm afraid that if I don't do this, then my neighbor's going to think, well, I didn't mow my yard today, so I'm going to mow my yard, forget about God, I got to stay home and mow my yard. Or I can't study the Word, I ain't got time, I got to do the dishes, I got to do laundry, kids got to be fed. Some of these things do have to happen. Eventually do have to be fed. You can't let your kids and family and everybody starve, but at the same time, you do not need to put the focus, you need to put the focus on God first, and everything else will fall in place. Because if you're focusing on God, you're going to take care of your family. That's what it says in the Scriptures to do. We need to eat daily of our spiritual food, not just 1 hour on Sunday, or maybe 2 hours. Or maybe you do all 3 services here on Sunday, get 3 hours in. There's 6 other days of the week. Are you living it? Are you eating the spiritual food? Are you growing? Trials and tribulations are tough, and I'll be the first one to tell you I've been through a lot this year, and I didn't like it. I still don't like it, but it did help me grow. It helped me grow stronger. Just like Brother Frog always tells you, what don't kill you makes you stronger, and that's the truth. The trials and tribulations you go through not only help you grow even better, but then when the next person has that same problem, you can help them. You can help them grow stronger in the faith and realize what they need to do to get stronger. I mean, I remember, like I said, 2 or 3 years after becoming a Christian, I was getting ready to wash out. The world crashing around me. I headed out this door. I was ready to take on the world. Yeah, the world had changed. Got out there, and nobody had changed but me. The devil hit me with a big knockout punch, about knocked me down. Down but not out. God finally made me realize and woke me up. He said, don't let this fear get to you. And I said, how can my faith grow? How can I get stronger faith? And I looked around here at the members of this church, and I said, how can I get stronger faith like different ones that's here? Some of them may be gone now, but it was here at that time. I said, wait a minute. And I finally woke up and realized, I said, look at the time they have put in. Look how much spiritual food they have eaten. I'm giving 1 hour a day was all I was given at that time when I about washed out. And I looked around, these other people were given 20, 30 years, 40 years maybe. They was given daily, hours and hours daily. You might not see it all because you're not with them 24/7. You don't know how much I've studied, how much you study, we don't know. And it's not my business to keep track of each and every one. It's my business to take care of myself. And to do what God's called me to preach His word to you so that you may grow stronger. So today, let's be more like Peter. It may be uncomfortable. Yeah, we may stumble and fall. He stepped out on faith. He stumbled. God picked him up. We stumble today. Let's don't let that be a wall. Let's don't put a wall up and say, well, I stumbled here. I ain't going to do no more of this because let's put a wall up over here. So many times we look at Job and God put a hedge around him. But so many times we let fear bother us. That we put walls up in between that wall. And we limit ourselves. Just think for a second if God would do this, and I know He won't because there's not going to be no sadness in heaven, but just think for a minute. When you got to heaven, if He would set you in a room and say, here, I want to show you a movie of what could have been. Had to give you all to me. Not what was, what you did, but what you could have had. What I could have blessed you with. Had you just stepped out on a little bit of faith. Let your faith grow. And continue to grow as you eat the Word daily. As you study daily. It's a hard road. It's no easy road. And I hope and pray that if you're not a Christian today, that you definitely consider it. But I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you and tell you it's an easy path. It's a hard, tough path. To follow the narrow, straight way. But the rewards are going to be worth it. We can read that in here in our scriptures, but we got to study it to know that that's going to happen. That's what we got to do. Study daily. Get stronger. Fight the good fight. Run the good race. All the way until the end. That way when Jesus says, welcome in, thou faithful servant. He's a ruler. I'll make you a ruler over many. He's a ruler over a few things. I'll make you a ruler over many. Let's don't be like the other ones. Workers of iniquity. I knew you not. Let's don't be counterfeit this morning. Let's be whole and true and real. I hope this message has made you grow stronger. Let's stand and sing now, 329.